We'll go live in 5, 4.
Call this meeting to order. Diana, can you do a roll call, please?
Your worship, I can confirm that I, Deputy Clerk Diana Wilson, am in attendance in the Township office. For those participating by video conference, please answer present when your name is called. Mayor Mennel.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Present.
Councillor Widner.
Present.
Councillor Moore.
Present.
Councillor Cerna.
Present.
Councillor Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Galinsky.
Present.
Chief Administrative Officer Clerk Michelle Casavecchia Summers.
Present.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services Brent Smith.
Present.
Director of Public Works Matt Sweetland.
Present.
Director of Development Services Adam Betteridge.
Present.
Director of Finance Arun O'Healy.
Present.
Manager of IT Cecil Coxon.
Present.
And that's everyone.
Thanks, Diana. Next is pecuniary interest and general nature thereof.
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead, Mark.
Item number PW 21-30, the Hacienda Road and Vienna Line Rehabilitation Tender, I guess it is.
Okay, so noted. The minutes from May the 6th, was there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, mover and seconder for those minutes, please.
I'll move it.
Cerna, seconder.
Second.
Moore, all in favor.
Councillor Widner.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky. Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. The next part of the program is sort of a bittersweet for me. After 32 years as a municipal employee and the last 12 in Malahi, Michelle is retiring at the end of the month. Michelle, you should be very proud of your accomplishments in Malahi Township. Under your guidance, we've seen Malahi Community Place erected, South Dorchester Community Hall and Fire Station, amalgamation of 2 fire halls into one, a new Malahi South Station, Port Bruce Pier renovation, and a new service delivery review that we're currently adopting. You've developed a strong structure of employees that you've guided to be the best that they can be, and you leave Malahi in a very good shape financially. On a personal note, you've been a confidant and an advisor for me as we worked together over the last 12 years. I can't thank you enough for taking calls after hours and on weekends when something important has to be addressed. I'm not only using an excellent CAO, but I'll be seeing less of a good friend. Michelle, you enjoy your well-deserved retirement. And on behalf of all the council, I wish you and Mark and your family the very best in the future. And if you could enjoy or be part of the participation, I think we need a round of applause for Michelle. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Worship. If it would be all right, I do have a couple of comments if that would be okay with you.
Certainly.
So thank you, Your Worship, for those very kind words. I would like to take a moment to thank both the council and the staff for a very rewarding almost 12 years. I want you to know that I'm so very grateful for having been given the opportunity to work with such a dedicated and forward-thinking group of people. While there have been many challenges over the years, such as increased legislative responsibilities, reduced levels of funding from federal and provincial governments, and increased service pressures from the public, in response, the Malahi staff has rallied and grown as a team, dividing up and focusing in our respective areas of expertise, yet also coming together when it was necessary to meet those challenges head on. I've been extremely privileged to have been a part of a team which has achieved so many successes that we can all be proud of. The continued support and contributions of my directors and all township staff have indeed made Malahi a better place to live, work, and play. As I move into retirement, I want to again say thank you to all and wish everyone continued success in the future. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Michelle. We're going to miss you. Okay, next order of
Mr.
business.
Mayor, I have one thing if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, Michelle, in honor of your 12 years in retirement, I strictly know that I was your favorite over these years. But I'd like to present you with, now let's see if this will work. I have a dozen roses here. A virtual dozen roses. If you could reach through the screen and take those, it's the least I could do. And thank you very much for your help over the years. It's really appreciated.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah, our next order of business is Darren Lyle from CJDL. Are you there, Darren?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You have a presentation for us.
Yes, Darren, we've got it set up that you can share your screen if you wish.
Okay, can everybody see that now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Your worship, members of council, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak tonight and provide a brief overview of the Malahi Township of Malahi Road Safety Audit Phase 2. As it's rightly named, this is the second phase of a three-phase road safety audit study that has been undertaken by the Township of Malahi. The first phase was completed a couple of years ago, which was the north third of the township. And this recently completed second phase was studying from Ron McNeil line south to John Wise line. The purpose of the study was a few-fold. With one of the goals, the first goal being to review the physical features and to identify the hazards that affect road user safety within the township. Once those physical features and hazards were identified, the study was to recommend corrective action and mitigative measures that could be implemented by township staff. And of those deficiencies that are identified, realizing that everything could not be corrected at once, we're to prioritize the deficiencies that were identified to give the township clear objectives on how to move forward with their corrective measures. There are a number of criteria that do impact road safety, with the listed key ones here as follows: the road geometry, so the lane width, the shoulder width, and then also the boulevard width until you get to private property. The road surface, whether that be gravel, tar and chip surface treatment, or hot mist asphalt, and then furthermore what condition that road surface is in. How the drainage within the ditches of the road functions, if the ditches are properly defined, and then also equally important if there's an area of a miscible drain crossing to make sure that overland flow culvert would be properly sized and functioning. Vertical and horizontal alignment, so vertical curves and horizontal curves. Intersection, line of sight distances and stopping distances for people approaching. The clear zones on either side of the travel lane, and then embankments, embankment protection, which also includes bridges and culverts. And then last but not least, visual aids, or the street signs that are provided. So as the methodology of our study, so as we had the criteria clearly identified, we went and we drove each segment and carefully evaluated what we saw and documented our findings. Some of that was just completed visually by engineers at our office, and then also our survey crew for the areas of embankment protection or horizontal and vertical curves did complete some survey to record the actual data and changes in elevation there. So once that data was all recorded and summarized, we were able to prioritize what we found, summarized into either A, B, or C, kind of in areas of high to low priority to act as a tool for the township staff to implement these recommendations. The deficiencies were generally summarized. The priority A deficiencies being the ones that warranted immediate action. So areas where there was a steep embankment or a culvert that was not currently protected by a guardrail, Those were considered to be an immediate safety hazard warranting corrective action. Speed limit reductions in areas of poor visibility, and then also any corrective signage or speed limit reductions at intersections. Those were the three that were assigned priority A. Priority B rankings were hydro poles or trees or other objects within clear zones, narrow lane widths or shoulder widths, and also the surface condition of the roads, including, as is often seen, the edge of the surface treatment deteriorating and creeping into the travel lane. Priority C included line painting, and then deficiencies just on roads that have generally low traffic. So the following half dozen slides or so is just kind of to provide a general overview of to either pictures of good situations or deficiencies that were identified. So this first picture, as many of you will probably recognize, this is the recently reconstructed culverts on Presley Line that the township completed last year. So this picture shows the ideal road cross section that the township is trying to implement on all roads, which is 3.5 meter travel lane and 1 meter gravel or 1 meter shoulder plus rounding. Though not labeled on the slide, this is also a good example of embankment protection or protection at a culvert. So this guide rail that was built last year is per all the per the current MTO and OPS standards, and that is what the township is implementing on any of the embankment protection areas identified. This next picture is from Woolleyville Drive, and this is an example of a poor drainage situation that was identified. As you can see, there's poorly defined parallel road ditches to the travel surface, which is something that does ultimately affect the surface of the road and can cause flooding on the road in certain situations. Next picture here is an example of a vertical curve that causes poor visibility. There's basically kind of two approaches that the township could take to correct this deficiency. One of which is a little more cost effective than the other. The township could undertake a reconstruction of this road and try to cut that curve down, which the township had done a few years ago on York Line in a couple situations to a very good level of effectiveness, but that is a costly endeavor. So another option here would be to reduce the speed limit to an appropriate amount, which most often is either 50 or 60 kilometers an hour, where you're able to tolerate a sharper curve at a lower speed. And second picture, just the same thing of another vertical curve deficiency. This picture here is an example of an intersection that has poor line of sights. So the line of sight at the intersections were evaluated in both directions, whether that was coming to the stop sign at a T intersection or also for the through traffic at the intersection to make sure there is either sufficient stopping distance or sufficient visibility to merge out into oncoming traffic. Pictures here are of clear zone deficiencies, and both of these are very obvious examples where there's hydro poles that are located just off of the edge of the travel lane. The one on the right anyway does have a very faded marker on it that's is an attempt at providing safety to some effectiveness, I guess. Certainly the first order of priority would be to have all objects removed from the clear zone, which certainly does have cost limitations as well. So there is, similar to the vertical curves, there is signage options that can be provided to also improve road safety in the interim. This here is, and we did touch on this earlier, but this is an example of an embankment. The embankments were evaluated in accordance with MTO criteria, and this embankment was steep enough that it warrants implementation of a guide rail. And last but not least, the picture of a visual aid. As I've kind of touched on, visual aid is a relatively cost-effective way to improve road safety. So on the right is a is a picture of a horizontal curve that has chevrons installed, and on the left it is a curve that does not have the same visual aid installed and was recommended to. So in conclusion, every road within the study area, as I mentioned, between Highway 52 and 45 was evaluated, which is 28 roads as they were divided up anyway. And of that, there was 12 roads as priority A, priority B at 5, and then priority C at 11. And I guess that's the end of the presentation. So kind of all said and done, the findings, and I believe the report was shared with you before. So the findings of a 200+ page document were able to be summarized onto a table, a deficiency of priority table listing within the report. That's kind of a quick reference guide for the township, for Matt and his staff, that identifies each road segment, its priority ranking, and then lists the deficiencies that were noted there. So I think that's the end of my presentation. Certainly available for any questions or comments that maybe had.
Thank you, Darren. One question in regard to hydro poles. They can be very expensive moving.
Yeah.
Whose dime is that? Is that Ontario Hydro's or is that our own?
In my experience, Hydro One or Ontario Hydro is very reluctant to move a hydro pole at their own expense. Not that we got into contacting them or anything as part of the scope of work, but the Ontario, their rights through the Ontario Energy Board are very expansive, and it is very difficult for them to get them to open their checkbook, even for their infrastructure on private property. They have prescribed rights from centuries ago, and so there may be an opportunity for a partnership with them or something like that. But that would have to be explored further.
Okay, I'm getting the impression that this is going to be on our dime if they're too close to the road.
I think you're correct. Yes.
Okay. Questions for Darren, please.
No question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Darren. I noticed that I recognize the Carter Road picture. And I do know from Highway 3 to John Wise Line, there's 3 big hills in that road. Is each one of those those hills going to require guardrails? Because I know guardrails are quite expensive to put up.
Okay. You're putting me on the spot a little bit.
I'm sorry, sir.
The hill, in general, the hills, like a hill in itself, does not require a guardrail unless it has an embankment that accompanies it. So
Right.
often the crests of a hill are the opposite, right? That are at the top and does not have a deep ravine on the side. So.
Well, I've traveled that road for a long time, since I was a kid. And I know that each hill has an embankment.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And just so Carter Road. Carter Road had two crests that exceeded the minimum value for an 80-kilometer-an-hour road, and one sag, so the bottom of a hill that also exceeded. So there is 3 areas where the vertical alignment was exceeded, and that could be corrected by reducing the traveled speed from 80 to 60 kilometers an hour temporarily at those locations.
But no guardrails.
Embankment protection was warranted at 3 locations as well along Carter Road. And maybe you will know these municipal numbers. At municipal number 7900, 8403, and 8868.
Yeah, I know them quite well.
Okay. Either matter, I could provide you with a a bit of a visual, but it sounds like you know exactly where I'm talking
I
about.
live on Carter Road, or I used to anyways.
So yes, you're correct that the steel beam guardrails they certainly do come at a cost. There is some subjectiveness into the methods that the evaluation methods that we can take, but the embankment evaluation is one of the areas that is a little bit more black and white, and it either meets the warrant or it doesn't.
Yeah.
When we were earlier on, the first study that our office did as kind of as part of this exercise was probably 5 years ago now on York Line that Rob Johnson had initiated with us. And at that time, MTO standards still allowed for a posting cable guide rail to be installed, which was kind of a factor of a few cheaper than the steel beam, but unfortunately that doesn't meet standards anymore. So the costs have went up on that a little bit.
Yeah, okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Darren?
I have some. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Darren. Darren, there's a few line of sight that I haven't seen identified, and if I did, maybe I missed it, but like one is Ron McNeil and Imperial, and on the northwest corner, there's some advertising signs up. And if you're in a bigger vehicle, like a bigger truck, you're pretty well blinded at night. You can't see headlights coming to you right out in the lane, and you wouldn't know that because you probably weren't in a dollar vehicle, but had several comments and complaints about that, and there's been a lot of bad collisions at that corner. So I don't know if that's been looked at or not, but I think it should be. And another one is College Line in Imperial. If you go off to the traffic coming from the north, and if it's on the west side, there's some trees that are encroaching, and they've been trimmed back several times, but they grow back. And you have to go way, way over the stop line to get out to even see. Otherwise, you pull out the car coming. And that's frustrating and dangerous. And another one is like John Wise and Springfield Road. There's some trees on the west side south that it really blinds the whole road till you get there. I don't know if something could be done to trim them back a little bit too, but it's just frustrating when the trees are encroaching and you can't see. And can something be done about that, or do we just, how does that go?
Well, trees within the right of way are you know, it can be a controversial thing for the township to do, but kind of for the reason that you've identified as a line of sight issue, and then also if it is within the clear zone of the road, which is kind of equal importance, that there is justification for trees that are within those widths to be removed. Certainly trees contribute other things to our environment and everything, but from a strict road safety point of view, like they could be removed to improve it. Yes.
And if I can jump in as well to through you, Mr. Mayor, to add to Darren's point, the sections that were mentioned were on the county roads by those weren't specifically included in the phase 2 study. So the road allowances within the county road system weren't included for line of sight, things like that, as the township doesn't have jurisdiction on those sections. So this report specifically just relates to the road allowance on township roads. So that could be the rationale why those sections, you didn't see those ones in there, Councilor Widner.
The College Line is our road, and if you can't see it, it'd be our problem, wouldn't it?
Onto I believe the line of sight issue that you referred to was looking onto the county road.
Right.
If I've been correct, but
Makes
so
that road dangerous, that's all.
yeah, that's you're correct that the College Line being the township's road, that we would look after that right of way, but the concern being on the county road system,
Yeah.
would have been in the report.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Darren?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Noni.
Thank you. So just as a follow-up to that, is the county conducting a similar road safety audit so that all corners are covered?
Through you, your worship, no, that's not the case. This is a specific study just for the township roads, but specific locations could be requested for the county to have a look at if concern did arise.
So thank you for that. So my actual question was in the full report, I noticed that for each road, there's a description. And in that description, the design speed is mentioned. So I was hoping to understand a little bit more about what that means. And can that be interpreted also as the recommended speed on that road? Because in a couple cases, I think the actual speed right now is, let's say 80, but the design speed mentioned here is 60. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about what that description means.
Okay, through your worship. So design speed, design speed on the township roads, or I'll back up a second. So on more major highways, like one of the, I guess, challenges that we face with finding the right guidance documents to use here is that many of the manuals, like the TAC manual, Transportation Association of Canada, and all of the MTO guidance, like it is written for more major highways. So we kind of have to filter through that and find the recommendations that are practical and can actually be implemented by the township. So on a more major highway like the 401, although the posted speed is 100, the design speed would probably be either 120 or 130. On a kind of a secondary road, which we would call a county road in the case of the Elgin County and their townships relationships, which are generally the busiest roads. The posted speed most often is 80, and the design speed in that case would be 100. So basically meaning that you've designed it with a little bit of factor of safety for people that are speeding. For lower classes of roads where there's just not as much traffic, the design speed is most often then appropriately considered as the posted speed. So like, unless otherwise posted within the township, it's 80 kilometers an hour on roads outside of any of the communities. So the design speed on, well, I guess, except for the ones that were posted, otherwise the default design speed and posted speed in each of these was 80 kilometers an hour. There are some, okay, yep, go ahead.
So just as a follow-up then, specifically, I'm looking at Van Patterline. I know there's some residents who had indicated that, so I think by default, it doesn't sound like it's actually posted, but by default it's 80. But I noticed in the report that the design speed is actually, is noted as 60. So would it be your recommendation? In fact, in this case, it would be advisable to at least post 60, if not lower?
So designs, I see where you're reading that. You're at the top of the Van Patterline section. The a little bit further down, the vertical alignment was evaluated based off of the 80 kilometer an hour design speed. And the intersections were also evaluated based off of the 80 kilometer an hour design speed. If I'm not mistaken, Van Patterline is signed right now as an 80 kilometer an hour road. Matt, would you concur with that? Although this is slightly embarrassing, Deputy Mayor, I think the design speed on that section is just a typo, and all of the evaluation was done based on the 80 kilometer an hour posted speed. Again, being the default within the township. So there was nothing on Van Patterline that necessarily is indicating that the posted speed needs to be less than 80. That being said, it is certainly acknowledged that a gravel road is a little bit more treacherous than a road that is surface treated, and that's certainly the way that based on the traffic volumes, that is the way that the township generally assigns their priorities of doing surface treatment. And with Van Patterline's daily traffic count being 106 cars, I think it's pretty far down the list. So that could be I think within the scope of this report, there's nothing to justify it being less than 80. However, that being said, like the township could consider that on a case-by-case basis for just a discretionary reduction.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Darren? Seeing none, there is a recommendation. The mover and seconder, presentation received from Darren Lyle of CJDL Limited relating to Phase 2 road safety audit be received. The findings of the Phase 2 road safety audit be referred to the municipal staff for further review and incorporated into future draft budgets for the council's consideration. Mover and seconder, please. Jagger, seconder,
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jagger,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Okay, Donna, we next have the Harvest Bowl up.
Okay, I'll see if I can remember how to do this. So, can you see that?
Yes,
Yes.
we're good.
Did it, okay. So good evening, Mayor Mennel, and to you and through you to all of council. Thanks for allowing me some time here tonight. Just to give you a snapshot of where Harvest Bowl is at right now. I think it was sent out to everybody. And so I'll just quickly go through some of that. So a bit of a snapshot is that since last spring and last year, at the end of spring, we managed to donate 3,500 soups. And this year, within a couple of weeks, we will have donated over 4,000 soup kits. You can see here some of the places. 1,000 soup bags went to the London Food Bank. It's been to 6 food banks throughout Elgin, some into Oxford and Middlesex, some different agencies and churches. And I just got 3 requests yesterday. So it's still certainly in demand. So we actually utilized 16,000 pounds of food, fresh local vegetables from some of the local farmers, and also a mix of frozen vegetables from Bondwell. That worked out. Our relationship with Bondwell is critical, especially through COVID, because we couldn't have as many volunteers helping us. So we actually could not do the squash this year. So we were very fortunate to have such a company as Bondwell so close to us to be able to help with some of that food recovery. So you can see we had some fresh green beans, we had some frozen vegetables, and then we store them in the bags or in the pails in the basement of the hall. So right from the start, you can see that there's some fresh carrots there, and you can see how dirty they are with that first wash. So we do a lot of washing, we do prepping of them. We don't actually peel anything. So only if there's a blemish. Sometimes we call it tipping and tailing, but that's all. And then there's Jim Hodke is doing the dicer right there with the carrots. And I think Rick is scooping out the frozen peas there for us when we're putting that in. And there was one day it was extremely snowy. So I did take that snapshot of those volunteers working outside. And right into from then the prepping the vegetables and storing them into the bags right to finishing. You can see Doreen was there one day doing some new soup recipes. Bondwell came through in the winter and they wanted to participate. So we had 6 managers from Bondwell Company come, and they were so excited. They actually set up a challenge to see which line could be the fastest. And they are so excited that they want to continue with this and probably once a month send staff to help do this because they can see the benefit of the food recovery. And that would help us out as well. And of course, you can see we had one day that we had some youth there helping us, which was lovely. And you can see these are pictures of the new nutrition labels and the 2 different sizes that we now do. So even with the COVID challenges, we had some real dedicated volunteers. We didn't have as many volunteers helping this year because some of them are older and didn't feel comfortable with COVID, and some we felt were compromised, but we actually had 18 new recruits. So a bit of a younger seniors, I guess, is the demographics. So that was great. And then we had some grants, of course, and the grant that I did right through Red Cross, that supplied us with all of our PPE. So we've had all the gloves and the masks and the sanitizers and all of the training through Red Cross. And then we've had some other foundation money as well as some donations that come from churches and our local businesses that really support us. Here's a picture of Karcher with a hot water power washer, which is lovely. We got that they actually gave it to us for half price. The Elgin dairy producers donated to us some mats, which we put solution on so that we can do some disinfectant so that when we walk onto the mats and walk into the dehydrator, it's a little cleaner. And then we needed to somehow wash our trays better. And they're quite large. So Phil Mauer's company made us a tray washer and a tray storage rack. So that was greatly appreciated as well. Let's see, yes. So now behind the scenes, we were busy as well, working on our website. We now have a volunteer section with some stories that are going in. We have a volunteer schedule section, which the volunteers really appreciate. We've been doing grant writing, and we've just had a new one announced just within the last couple of weeks. We've done our COVID protocols, and all of our volunteers are Red Cross trained and certified. We did determine volumes and marketing needs, and through the weighing of all the vegetables, when they were wet, when they were dried, and the sizes we used, we sent all of the information to University of Guelph, and they did the nutritional analysis for us, and that's why we were able to do new labels with the nutritional value on it. And again, we did 2 different sizes, and that's with some feedback from some of the food banks. The family size is wonderful, but then when there's single people or couples, the smaller bag is a little bit better. And we tried a new thing with the youth there this year. We did small packages of just the dried vegetables. So those are the pictures there: sweet potatoes, peas, corn, and green beans. And there's some suggestions as to how to increase the nutritional value of, if you're making shepherd's pie or spaghetti sauce or soup of your own, you can throw in some good local vegetables. We're also looking at the whole sustainability piece. We've had people interested in buying our soups, which was not the purpose, but we can do a social enterprise. So we can bring in some dollars from the sale and still maintain not-for-profit. So we are looking at doing that at our local food marts just to sustain costing of the soup powder base, which tends to really move up there quickly, spices in the bags, etc. So our first pilot host is going to be How Farm Markets. They like the idea that it's local vegetables, and they want to be able to support that. We also did some business case studies through Pillar Nonprofit and Innoweave, and looking at our opportunities. Certainly they did identify that we could grow and develop this into a big business, which is, again, our board reviewed the research, and we're not interested in being a big business, that we agree that our initiative is built on community. Our community can supply, through the gleaning, giving that extra or the underutilized of what we do have, the food, the fuel, the volunteer labor, the haul, and that's how we want to continue. And before I move on, I did want to recognize that the Township of Malahi, we consider them an equal partner in this venture. And I truly want to thank council and staff, all of council, because this is new territory, I'm sure, for municipalities, but for your foresight and your compassion with this venture and looking for the needs at the less fortunate in our community. Also to Chris Cox, because every time I call him, he has to run and open the door and lock the door after we're all finished. Also to the Fire Chief Brent, always sharing support and looking after the welfare of the needy in this township. And I'm sure through all the firemen there, they could come and perhaps they could see some peas or corn in the back parking lot. We try to clean everything up, but I think what we do leave the birds get eventually, so that's good. But certainly they could see if we were there for the day or not. And last, I would like to very much thank the CAO, Michelle, for all of her support through this whole initiative. I've really enjoyed being able to brainstorm with her and taking some advice, and really want to thank her for her caring for her community. It's well illustrated. So just to mention some of maybe our challenges. So it actually has been, if I could say, it's been kind of nice in one sense that it was COVID this year because nobody else was using the hall. And so we didn't have to put everything downstairs and carry everything up and downstairs every night after we were finished for the day. So, there are some challenges that do exist in the hall. And that is that our dicer has to be washed outside. So we have to pull it outside, wash it with the hot water power washer. So that cuts out inclement weather or cuts out winter months for us. And so we have to be careful what days we can schedule to have the food there and have the volunteers. And that leads into then consistency. The volunteers wanting to have consistency, they would like to be able to say, I can come every Tuesday morning. So they would like to be able to be consistent. Bondwell is also asking for some consistency that they can time food deliveries, and also again being able to provide some staff with helping out any kind of work that is going on. A little bit of concern I have is that our food that's carried out between the hall and the dehydrator, there hasn't been an issue yet. It's a short distance, but if it's inclement weather, I do question sometimes. We have to be careful how we cover the trays then. Our storage for our dicer and our tray storages in the back hallway, when the hall is open, I don't know where they go. The timing of our activities, we're very busy in the fall, and then we're flexible throughout the year. So we don't need a standalone facility, which is something that we had been looking at, but about 2 days a week actually would really serve the needs of what we have. So moving forward, we see a potential opportunity in that the use of the hall has really been paramount to the success of the project. It's in a great location. Bondwell loves it, that it's very easy access for them to be able to deliver food for us, which is really, we can go get it, but it's really nice if they do bring it out. It's also handy for the Amish farmers, especially the women. They love to come out and help us as well. And all the volunteers, and it seems to be in a good spot for us. And it isn't a very busy hall, so it's really good in that sense. But the limitations, as I said before, it's a little causing us some challenges as to how we do move forward. So maybe we are needing a more permanent year-round scheduling and cleaning and moving forward with that. So while we're there, we do notice that always one bay in the fire hall is empty, and sometimes two. And then, of course, we notice there's floor drains in those bays, which could help us facilitate that with the washing. We would put down extra screens and etc. But we would have to, you know, put up some walls. We don't want carrots flying around. But we've done some preliminary research into how to use one of those bays and how we could make our flow of our work work a little bit better. And Harvest Bowl would pay for all renovations, and we could accommodate paying rent. This would accommodate a consistent food recovery timeline and volunteer schedule, while still allowing both the fire hall and the community hall to operate as usual. I think it enables the township then to use their underutilized space while they could recover some additional rent for that. So that is my request for you to consider. Thank you, Mayor Meno.
Okay. Thank you, Donna, for your presentation. And certainly this council and staff have been very supportive of
Yes.
The Harvest Bowl project, and it has certainly served our community very well. I think the next step is probably to send this back to staff, and we want to make sure that the firemen are comfortable with this. But I think there's probably a way we can utilize the space and that you requested, but I think we need to talk to our fire department and our staff and make sure that there's no glitches.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there any questions for Donna? Seeing none, there is a recommendation from staff. Mover and second of the presentation received from Donna Lund on behalf of the Harvest Bowl project, providing an update on the success of the project be received, and that the request from the Harvest Bowl project for additional uses of the South Dorchester Community Hall and Fire Hall number 4 be referred to municipal staff to work with Donna Lund to develop a detailed plan for such facility use and report back to council at a future meeting with respect to such a plan, including any potential costs and estimated revenues. So mover and seconder for that, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Serna, seconder
Second.
Ridner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Counselor Cerna?
Yes.
Counselor Lewis?
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky? Deputy Mayor Jaguar?
Yes,
Mayor Mennel?
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. You'll be hearing from us shortly, Donna, so thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Take
Have a
care.
good meeting.
Right.
See you
Take
tomorrow
care,
morning
thanks.
at the
Good night, Donna.
roundtable.
Oh, yes, yes.
8 o'clock. Wow.
I think I go to more meetings now that we're on Zoom.
Yeah, no kidding. Take care, Donna.
Bye-bye.
See you, Donna.
All right, Brent, anything to report?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship and Council. I have before you the April activity report for Malahi Fire Services. Again, the changes that we made last year appear to be allowing us to trend downward in some of the modifications that we made, although I will point out that the calls that we are having are significant in that as we sit here, they got paid back out to the junkyard. So that will be call number 4 for the day to there. Medical calls, again, can certainly trend to be the largest percentage of our calls, which COVID obviously certainly has something to do with that. Everything else, I think, though, is as per normal, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Questions for Brent on his report?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Go ahead, Rick.
I was at the farm last night at my mom's farm, and I saw the fire at the junkyard, and the smoke and everything with the flames was unbelievable. And I drove by there today and I saw what you guys have done and what you saved, if you want to call it saved. And I'm just wondering if the next time it gets on fire, if you can't say the GPS screwed up or something, and the fire trucks get lost somewhere for at least another couple hours.
I don't think we can do that, Rick, but
Yeah.
I hear what you have to say, Councillor Serna, but I don't think we have the ability to do that.
It's too bad.
But after 3 fires there's less and less actually to burn. I can ensure you.
Okay,
We had a
thank
fire
you.
there probably 30 years ago, and he had probably 50 propane tanks, and they were going off like Roman candles. And
Oh,
I said to the guys, don't even think about crossing the fence. Just stay over here and lob the water over. So nothing's changed, Brent.
No, we had somewhere in the area of 27 explosions last. Propane tanks, oxyacetylene, aerosol shaker cans, you name it. And there's a video posted by the Elmer Express, if you go online, that shows a 45-gallon drum that went up probably, fortunately, it went straight up about 150 feet and came straight down about that same distance. So we were fortunate, and as per usual, they did an amazing job, and I received many compliments from our neighboring fire departments that come in to assist us last night. So again, a stellar job by all of the firefighters in Malahi.
yeah, if I might add, Mayor,
Good.
last night when we heard all the popping and banging, and we're what, a concession? We're like 3 miles away or something as a crow flies. And my son and I went outside looking for the fireworks because we kept hearing the bangs, but we couldn't find anything else. But then when I looked in the sky and the smoke and everything was just unbelievable. And you could see the glow of the fire from here on Anger Road. It was just unbelievable. But yeah, you guys did a great job.
Well, thank you, and I will pass that along.
Please
Any
do.
other questions for Brent? Mover and seconder, report number F21-07 entitled Emergency Service Activity Report for April be received.
Move it.
Moore and
I'll second it.
Glinski, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, you got tender results?
Yes, good evening, your worship and council. Through you, I have a number of reports for you this evening, the first of which relates to the Township surface treatment program. So in order to maintain the surface treated roads within the township, the recommended engineering best practice is to complete an application every 7 years based on the life expectancy of the product and in an effort to minimize the maintenance cost. So for the 2021 construction season, the 1/7 share of township roads to receive single surface treatment are listed in the report. And additionally, the Pressy line has been included as part of that capital reconstruction project. As detailed in my report, over the last 8 years, the township has participated in a joint tender together with the county to obtain competitive pricing for surface treatment application, and noting that the tender does stipulate a 1-year warranty period. So there were 2 contractors that submitted pricing for this work, and staff are recommending an award to the low bidder, Duncor Enterprises, who are well known throughout the province for their abilities in this field, and noting that a 2-year warranty period will be requested from them. And the tender totals are all within the 2021 budget allocation lines for this work. And I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Questions for Brent on the tender?
Matt.
Matt, it's not Brent.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thank you. To you to Matt. Matt, the job they're doing on Glencoe looks great for the edge treatment. It's super smooth and looks like it's going to be a good job. What are they going to put on there for sure now? What treatment is that going to be? Like
It's a single surface treatment. So it's a slurry and a fine gravel that goes down.
like tar and chip?
It's similar, but it's a finer gravel that goes over top of a slurry there.
We've used it before. It seems to wear well then.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great product.
Okay, and we'll be getting a line put back on it probably as quick as we can, or
Yeah, absolutely. That's the case.
yeah, we've got a couple other lines that need to be touched up before we do the main ones. There's I guess Silver Creek Hill or whatever called where the accidents were years ago, Dave. By Walkeris is there. That line is pretty well non-existent now, and that's a pretty important line to have on there because there's such a hill. So, all right, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Matt? Seeing none, mover and second report number PW 2122 entitled Tender Results 2021, Supply and Place Surface Treatment be received. Contract for the 2021 Supply and Place Surface Treatment be awarded to Duncor Enterprises, Inc. The mayor and clerk be authorized to enter an agreement with Duncor Enterprises, Inc. of Barrie, Ontario for the purpose of completing the 20 to 21 surface treatment program.
I'll move it.
Moved by Widner, seconder
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
yes,
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And the Hacienda and Vienna line culvert, Matt?
Yes, through you, your worship, to council. The township had 2 culverts identified as high priority for required intervention in the 2020 bridge inspection program. Those being the Hacienda Road culvert and Vienna line culvert at Silver Creek. The 5-year budget prepared for these structure replacements generally included completion of an EA process in year 1, followed by structure replacement design in year 2. So following a staff review of these 2 structures, each is estimated to exceed around $4 million per structure for a removal and replacement strategy. And so staff believe that it's more beneficial to explore alternative rehabilitation measures to extend the life of the structures rather than assuming a replacement strategy. So both these structures are located on the same watershed. And so accordingly, staff issued an RFP for a combined rehab study to realize economies of scale for a proposed engineering solution. 3 proposals were received for this project using a 2-envelope system, 2 of which met the 70% minimum scoring threshold to open financial envelopes, and the highest overall scoring and lowest cost financial proposal was received from Street Associates to complete the work for $23,780. This amount falls well within the combined 2021 budget line items for completion of the engineering work for structures. So staff recommending that this be awarded to Street Associates, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Matt, can you tell me in layman's terms exactly how they're extending the life of the culverts?
That would be the purpose of the study precisely, where the costs of these to replace these structures due to the size that they are and the depth beneath the road make them very expensive. So the purpose of this study would be there are multiple strategies that could be implemented to rehabilitate some corrosion within them and failing bottoms and embankment issues that we'd rather explore those options first and to find the best solution to extend the life rather than just assuming replacement. So I don't have a direct answer of what that would be, but that's the purpose of this study would be to figure out what
Okay.
that's.
I know years ago, we welded some struts in there to strengthen the culverts, but
Yeah, that's right.
Haven't seen them for a long time, but anyway, any other questions for Matt? Seeing none, mover and seconder, report number PW 2130 entitled RFP Results, Hacienda Road and Vienna Line Culvert Rehabilitation Request for Proposal be received. Contract for the Hacienda Road and Vienna Line Rehabilitation be awarded to Streets Associates of London, Ontario in the amount of $23,780 plus HST. Mayor and clerk be authorized to enter an agreement with Streets Associates for the purpose of completing the Hacienda Road and Vienna Line Culvert Rehabilitation. Moved by Lewis, seconder
second,
by Jiguer. All in favor?
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
yes,
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And you're up again, Matt.
Yes, through you, your worship. In 2015, the township received the first update of the completed road needs study that was undertaken in 2008, and a subsequent update was received in 2018. So at the time of the 5-year budget preparation, the next road needs study was anticipated for undertaking in the 2022 budget year. As staff proceeded through ensuring compliance with asset management regulations, it is stipulated that technical merit metrics must be based on data which is less than 2 years old. So accordingly, staff applied to a stream of FCM funding to cover the cost of preparing a road needs study in 2021, and were successful in obtaining 80% funding for the project cost. So after being notified of the successful funding, staff issued an RFP for completion of the road needs study using a 2-envelope system. 6 firms did submit detailed proposals for the project, and all were successful in obtaining a 70% required minimum score on technical merit, and all financial proposals were opened. Then the highest scoring and lowest overall financial proposal was submitted by 4 Roads Management Services, who are very well known throughout the industry in preparation of road needs studies to meet asset management regulations, and also completed the township's prior road needs studies and updates. And I'd like to just note that as council received the road safety audit report this evening prepared by CJDL, I'd like to highlight that this road needs study differs from that study as it examines not road safety, but rather the asset condition evaluation for purposes of service levels and asset protection and financial planning. So overall, there is no budget in 2021 to complete this work. However, $25,000 is included in the 2022 budget. Since funding was approved for up to 80% of the project cost, staff recommend awarding a project to 4 Roads Management Services at a cost of $25,992, recognizing that the actual impact to the 2021 budget will be $5,199, and the $25,000 budget in 22 can be removed. And with that, I'd like to ask if council has any questions.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Questions from Matt on the, well, first of all, congratulations, Matt, on getting, that's a kind of a nice bonus to hear that we're covering 80% of it. So any questions for Matt? Seeing none. Mover and second, report number PW 2131, entitled Award of RFP for Municipal Road Inventory Condition Assessment and Capital Improvement be received. The contract be provided consulting services to update the municipal road inventory condition assessment and capital improvement plan be awarded to 4 Roads Management Services, Inc. As for the RFP document, a consultant's proposal at a total price of $25,992 plus taxes. Mayor Clerk be authorized to enter an agreement with 4 Road Management Service, Inc. for the purpose of completing the 2021 Municipal Road Inventory Condition Assessment and Capital Improvement Plan.
Move it.
Moore, seconder.
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor.
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And finally, the master plan.
Yes, as my final report this evening, as council is aware, many of the township's guiding documents and policies refer to parks and recreation. However, the planning in that department has been less structured due to operating absent of a master plan, which is typically structured to develop and prioritize short and longer term infrastructure, and capital projects in an optimized manner to serve the community consistent with trending within that industry and the changing demographics. Issued an RFP for completion of a Parks and Rec master plan, again, using a 2-envelope system. And 6 firms submitted detailed proposals for the project. And again, all were successful in obtaining the minimum 70% required score on technical merit. So all financial proposals were again opened. The highest overall score was achieved by the partnership of McQueen Galloway Associates and GSP Group. Their proposal commits to a preparation of a Parks and Rec master plan consistent with the township's strategic plan, while defining various objectives in park and rec facilities utilization, location optimization, maintenance and programming, condition analysis and accessibility needs, demographic shifts, and the current and future needs assessment and financial analysis. So all of this program includes considerable public consultation by a number of avenues to engage residents and stakeholders through the data collection and decision recommendation process, which includes many interviews, public video forums, workshops, surveys, and a dedicated master plan webpage. So this partnership proposal was submitted with a low bid price of $23,470, which is well below the combined 2021 and 2022 budgets of $50,000 for the work. And accordingly, staff recommend an award of the project.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt on the master plan? Seeing none, mover and second, report number PW 2132, entitled Award of Proposal Comprehensive Parks and Recreational Master Plan be received. Contract to provide the consulting service for the preparation of the Comprehensive Parks and Recreational Master Plan be awarded to MGA/GSP Group as per their RFP document, and the consultant proposal at a total price of $23,470 plus taxes. Mayor Clerk be authorized to enter an agreement with MGA/GSP Group for the purpose of completing the comprehensive plan and recreational master plan.
I'll move it.
Moved by Lewis. Seconder,
Second,
Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Thank you. And as far as committee and outside boards, we've got the minutes from Long Point from April 7th. Any questions or comments? Motion to receive and file then, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Cerna, seconder.
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Next, we have correspondence. There's 11 items. Some of them we've endorsed already. Any questions or comments or anything we wish to endorse?
I have a couple if I could.
Art?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The number 2, the town of Cochrane. It's asking the federal and provincial governments to include apparatuses, training equipment, and structures for fire departments eligible categories for any further infrastructure programs. I think we should support that. And number 5, the city of Barrie is proposing helping out with this 988 three-digit suicide and crisis prevention hotline. You can't help but notice without some of the obituaries that have been coming out, it's donations to mental health. I think there's more suicides than what we think there is. And I've been involved with 3 of them more in my lifetime. And I think this may not be the answer, but it doesn't hurt to maybe have another avenue to help people out. So I would support that.
Okay. So right now we're supporting 2 and 5 and receive and file the balance. Mover and seconder for that then, please.
Move it.
Widner and
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis,
Lewis.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Now, under other business, Michelle, you're going to give us an update on the beaches that just happened this afternoon.
Yes, Your Worship, I can. So early this afternoon, the province did announce that it will allow more outdoor recreational amenities to reopen with restrictions in place effective 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, May 22nd. Following consultation and in order to be consistent with our other Elgin Municipal Beach partners, the township staff are taking action to open additional outdoor recreational amenities, including the beaches, the pier, and the public washrooms in Port Bruce, as well as the basketball courts and the baseball diamonds in Springfield. Playgrounds in all areas of the township do remain open as they were before. In order to enhance the safety of any visitors to Port Bruce, we have scheduled our volunteer firefighters who have last summer acted as beach ambassadors They will be patrolling the beach areas in Port Bruce this weekend to promote physical distancing and other COVID safety protocols. A formal press release is being prepared to notify the public of these reopenings, and it will be circulated tomorrow. And of course, this is all subject to concurrence from council this evening, but staff are actively getting things ready in order to be consistent with our other Elgin Beach municipal partners. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions as much as I know at this stage, because it has been relatively recent and staff are scrambling a little bit to make sure that we're ready to go.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Questions for Michelle on the beaches? Now, our porta potty, will be taking that out now that we're opening up our regular washrooms?
Yes, your worship, it may not come out right away. It'll be subject to ensuring that the company can come to remove it, but they were scheduled to be there tomorrow anyways to prep the portable washroom for the weekend coming up. So I anticipate, although we haven't made those final arrangements yet, that they'll probably remove that at the same time rather than simply cleaning it and prepping it. But we will be looking to open up washrooms at both Wanacott Park, as well as staff have been in consultation with the ministry in order to ensure that we're able to open the washrooms at the provincial park property as well. So that is our expectation. While the amenities aren't to reopen until Saturday at 12:01, our other municipal counterparts are all prepping and are anticipating that we'll have all the facilities ready to go tomorrow evening anyways, just because it will, we don't typically have staff, but the large amount of staff working on Saturdays, there will be minimal staff available. So we're going to actually have everything ready to go tomorrow evening.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Good.
Any other questions for Michelle?
So one, I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Michelle. What will be allowed on the beaches then this weekend? I know Central Elgin was on the news tonight. And they're gonna really track down on things yet, but what's our situation? Same?
Through your worship, yes, our understanding is the beaches are now available for what is referred to as day use. So individuals, previously we were allowing access simply for exercise purposes. So people could walk along the beach in order to stay active and get exercise. Now individuals will be permitted to use the beach for what I would refer to as traditional beach use, such as, sitting on the beach or having a picnic or swimming, whichever, those types of activities, provided there are restrictions. So it would be provided that they're following other COVID protocols. So 6 feet apart, unless it's your own family. Obviously, your own family will be able to sit closer, but people need to social distance. In the washrooms, people will be required to wear masks to be able to go in and out of the washroom. So the same protocols that we had in place last year when we reopened the beaches. So and the message, and that's one of the advantages of having the volunteer firefighters there to assist in educating the public and reminding them of what the expectations are and making sure that those safety protocols are adhered to and everyone is able to enjoy the beach safely.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Michelle?
Yes, to Michelle. In regards to the baseball diamonds, Michelle, I know I'm going to be in the middle of something here. So could you explain what's going to happen there, particularly at Malahi Community Place?
Certainly. At this stage, the province is only allowing baseball diamonds to reopen for recreational use. No team play, no team practices, nothing like that. So if you and other members of your family want to go and throw a ball around again to be able to, for recreation purposes, not for team play or not for league play or any of those other types of uses. So it again is when we first opened the baseball diamonds last summer, it was the same type of use. There are still restrictions in place for maximum of 5 individuals allowed to congregate in outside areas. So we will be posting signage as well that, using the baseball diamond, it would be restricted to 5 individuals. So you couldn't necessarily have, 10, 15 people all out there throwing a ball around. It's intended to be used for individual recreational purposes. And very similar to the restrictions that were in place last summer as well.
Thank you. Now the public washrooms will remain closed.
At Malahi Community Place, they will. The only public washrooms that we're opening at this point in time are the ones at Wanacott Park in Port Bruce and the ones at the Port Bruce Provincial Park. Those are the public washrooms that we typically open during the summer months. And because the baseball diamonds are not opened currently for league play, the washrooms at Malahi Community Place wouldn't be open for those either, not just for the individual recreational activity that is being permitted at this stage.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Chester, you indicated earlier you wanted to have a motion to support staff's decision on the beaches and the recreational units.
Yes, I would move that.
Seconder for that,
Second.
Jagger, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis. Oh, Counselor Lewis. Counselor
His internet.
Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Anything else for other business? Before we
Yeah, I have
move
something.
on? Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a concern brought to me by several people, and I went down and identified it myself. The new bridge in Port Bruce, to the south of it, trying to cross over Imperial onto Dexter. The sight lines are, in my opinion, they're terrible. And I know Dominique was kind enough to get a hold of Mr. Lima, and he just basically replied that it meets section 11 of the Highway Traffic Act. Well, I don't care what it meets. You can't see, you can't see. I've got some photographs trying to cross it myself, and other people have tried to cross it. You may not see there's a problem if you're just turning left or right, but trying to cross Dexter, you cannot see. There's that hump in the bridge wasn't built, I realized, to accommodate taller boats. But with all that new fancy guard railing, which is beautiful, but you just can't see. I like to just have it looked at for sure, because either that or have some signage put up with the speed limit lowered on that bridge, or I have a fear someone's going to get hit. And I don't know if anybody else has been down to look at it or not, but we get down there quite a bit, and I see a problem there. So if that could be passed on.
We can put an inquiry into the county. But I've stopped at the stop line. I got to admit, I didn't see an issue.
No stoplight there, stop sign, and it's just,
The stop sign at heading on the south side. You're looking north. I can see the traffic.
well, I got pictures definitely send you that show you there's no, you can't see it.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. I've been down there myself, and as a matter of fact, yeah, I was down there last night. I was coming home from Dexter and picking up some motorcycle parts. And I have to concur with Councilor Widner that when you stop there and they've got the white line painted out far enough, but you cannot see anything. And there's no sense going out to the intersection to be able to see the turn. I think it needs to be looked at. I really do. Like I said, I agree with Councilor Widner that it's just not good.
We can send a request onto the county. That's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else under other business? Move on to bylaws. Bylaw number 21-39, being a bylaw to appoint an acting fire chief for Malahi Township, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder,
Second it.
Widner, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis, Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Bylaw number 21-40, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk for Malahi Township, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
I'll move it.
Cerna and Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis, Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And finally, bylaw number 21-41, being a bylaw to authorize the agreement with Duncor Enterprises, Inc. for the 2021 surface treatment, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
I'll move it.
Moved by Glinski, seconder,
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
yes,
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis, Counselor Glinski, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Now we need a motion to move into closed session. The council move into closed session at 8:50 pursuant to section 239-2 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following. One, a personnel matter by identifying individual and or labor relations or employee negotiations relating to staffing in the Public Works Department. And two, personnel matter about identifying individual and or labor relations, employee negotiation relating to staffing at the Public Works Department. Mover and seconder, please.
I'll move it.
Cerna and
Yeah.
Mayor, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis, Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you.
The floor is yours, your worship.
Okay, now that we're back in open session, during the closed session, council provided direction to municipal staff regarding two personnel matters about identified individuals and a labor relation or employee negotiation matter relating to the staffing in the Public Works Department, and there's nothing further to report. Mover and seconder, that bylaw number 2138 being a confirmatory bylaw, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
move it.
Lewis,
I'll
seconder,
second it.
and Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes,
Counselor Lewis,
yes,
Counselor Galinsky,
No,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And finally, a mover and seconder, council adjourned at 9:27 to meet again on May 27th at 7 o'clock. Glinski and Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
yes,
Counselor Lewis,
yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Good night, all. Take care.
Thank you, your worship. Thank you, council.
Good night. Thank you all.